Welcome to this week's edition of Make More Money Now. And this is going to be a real treat today. I'm Gerry Black, marketing writer, copywriter. And today, Patti, the small business sales coach, is going to take the wheel and she's going to walk you through a number of successful traits for people that want to succeed as a salesperson or as an entrepreneur. So, Patti, I'm going to hand it right over to you.
Hey, thank you, Gerry. And just so you know, this is going to be a two-parter because it was hard to take a list of 20 characteristics, bring them down to 10. And if we're going to say anything about the characteristics and still keep this show to a manageable level, we're going to do 5 today and 5 the next week. But we're starting from the least important down, and number 1 trade-off obviously is going to be the last one that I reveal. But listen up. So when I teach entrepreneurial sales at Ryerson, I actually do a fair bit of self-awareness training as well, because what's really important and I use salesperson and entrepreneur pretty interchangeably, because as an entrepreneur, you are, or you should be, or you must be your own best cheerleader and best salesperson. I always say, if you don't want to learn how to sell as an entrepreneur, then go get a job, because you're going to struggle. Oh, I know. Ouch. I know it's harsh, but I don't sugarcoat. That's not my way of doing things, because, it's either, it's like when you pull off a bandage, do it quick and then it hurts less than doing it slowly. So we're going to talk about personal traits, because being, the difference that most employers are finding now is the difference between top performers and mediocre ones are not their skill set, not their technical, not their education, not their certifications. It's their emotional intelligence. How self-aware are you? I mean, I think we've all worked with unself-aware jerks who are like totally oblivious to like the body language, to the what's going on with the face, the tone of voice. It's just that especially in selling and running your own business is so important. So the traits are all not things that you pick up, in education. It's about things that you learn about yourself. And I'll be giving you some action steps and homework to do at the end of this. So we're talking about soft skills, basically. And the number one, one that I'm going to talk about is being competitive. There's a reason they have, like, if you're on a sales team, like a major corporation like IBM has a 100% club. There's President's Club, Achievers Clubs. Even smaller companies have President's Clubs that you make your quota, that you can achieve this, week away, free holiday, basically. So being competitive is number 10. So the thing is, competitive doesn't mean comparison. So don't compare yourself to others, but give yourself some competition. And this really leads into the trait number 2, which is goal setting, right? Be goal oriented. You've probably all heard of SMART goals. They're specific, measurable, achievable, blah, and timely. I don't know what that are. I can't remember. But, I find personally writing down goals, and that helps with the competitive edge, right? Is that if you say, I'm going to make $1 million this year, and you have it, I have a bulletin board right over here out of camera, is I actually have $1 million bill, just so you know, I'm actually $2 million bills.
Is it real?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. So you've already done it, is what you're telling us. Okay.
I have done it, but with inflation, I helped scale a company, a software company, many years ago. It's now in its 30th year, so it's going. But I'm a huge believer in manifestation. Is that you got to know what you want, and the whole thing about being competitive and goal oriented is like, if you put that out there and you see that every day, and then you break it down into chunks of like, how are you going to do it? So it's 100 and what's the million divided by 12? So that's, say you're just working on a 10 month year, it's 100,000 in business each month, broken down by 20 working days. It's 5,000 a day that you have to bring in. So it's 25,000 a week. So you got some concrete goals. So at like today's Thursday that we're taping the show, it's like, where's your $25,000, Gerry? If you're going to make your $1 million goal, and then if you don't make it this week, that means you got to make 50,000 next week, right? And that's a way, putting goals on paper help make them come alive. How do you do your goals, Gerry? Like, how do you achieve yours?
Well, I write them down every day.
Yep.
So there's that part of it. And then I have a number of little, don't see it here, it's not too far away, a number of index cards that I carry around that I can take with me. So my little book stays in my office, but my cards go along. And you're right, you need a little action plan for each one of them. And I find one thing, Patti, it's important with the goals, and it's not a show about goals today necessarily, but just to be realistic. Like, you're not going to make $1 million if you made $50,000 the previous year. So you have to be realistic. Otherwise, you will not come up with a kind of a game plan that you believe in. Right.
True. Oh, that's a really valuable point, Gerry, because there are a lot of shysters out there who say, "Hey, follow my proven system that I use to make $1 million, and you can do it yesterday." And it's like, no, we're talking about realistic. That was the R, was realistic goals, right? So you made 50,000 last year. It wouldn't be, if you made 60, 70, 75,000, 50%, increase. That's pretty achievable. And then 100,000. You work your way up. So in 5 years, $1 million is really quite achievable. I always have this sexy phrase of, you as an entrepreneur, you plod your way to profits, but I rarely see somebody go from 0 to $1 million. Like, it's the exception rather than the rule, no matter what you hear on Instagram. So competitive, goal oriented. Were you going to say something, Gerry?
Well, I was just thinking that another thing that helps you with the goal setting, just quickly, is sort of setting out your intentions. And your intentions are a little different in that, like, let's say, for instance, you intend, one of my goals, it's on every month, just to remind me, I intend to stay out of my comfort zone as much as possible. Yeah. And those are little cues that kind of, they're not goals, they're kind of mini goals, but they're not goals, but they're just kind of remind you what it's going to take to achieve those goals. You have to do different things that you haven't necessarily done before. So you want to be always mindful of being conscious of what is going to get you there. And it's not doing the same thing over and over.
Oh, exactly. That's a great point. I call it, people fall into their comfort rut and they never get out, right? And I believe living on the edge is the only way to live, because that's what creates excitement. I've done so many things that I've never done before, being a farmer, like, a big city slicker. I knew nothing about farming. I created a successful, thriving destination in the middle of nowhere. So it can be done. When you're talking about daily, we've got the big goals, the 5-year goals, the 1-year goals. And then it breaks down to a sticky note, my top 3 priorities for today. So I feel like I've accomplished something towards those goals today. And when you're, given I'm a sales coach, it's like, always be prospecting. So top of your list should be, did I connect with 5 or 10 old, follow-up clients, new clients? I'm always doing my pipeline. So that's a constant goal that you should have. But I like let's do something new, So third trait, empathy. Not to be confused with sympathy, which is you feel sorry for somebody, but empathy means putting yourself in their shoes. Like, it's so important to figure out, I've probably said this before, is when you're talking to somebody and you can tell that they're somewhat distracted. They're interested, but they're distracted, which, we're living through a pandemic. There's homeschooling, there's working from home, there's more stresses and changes happening, that you got to put yourself in their shoes. If they're homeschooling 3 kids under 5 or under 10, I can't really relate to that because I don't even have a pet right now. So, my single life is quite doable. But when I think about, I just went to visit my stepson with his 5 kids under 8. They have a busy life, a very busy life, with 2 twins that just got born. And it's like, you put one down, the other one cries. You put that one down, the other one cries. So it's just like there's a constant, like, poor Marie. Like, you got to put yourself in their shoes. And if you're trying to get in and sell to them, even though they might need it, they go, okay, the timing's not right. When should we talk again? When kids are back at school come September. So you always got to figure out, think of them. I know I might have pushed off some sales because I'm too empathetic, but I'm just conscious of how would I feel. That's how I do it. It's like, if I was in this situation, what would I do? What would I expect from my seller? What kind of, concessions, if somebody's phoning me every day, have you made a decision? Have you made it? It's like, go away, go away,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, a business example of that, I can relate to the 5 kids. I mean, because I've heard about that, not because I have them, but a business example of that is on LinkedIn. And you'll often, if you're empathetic, then you are understanding that a lot of people on LinkedIn get pitched hard on LinkedIn. And so if you think you're new with your offer to, hey, let's get together and talk on the phone. Well, they hear that all the time. And when you come in with that approach, right away, they know that you have no interest in them. You're just interested in you. And so the advantage it gives you when you are empathetic is that going in. If you're thinking about your prospect going in, you can be understanding of those conditions, like the parents with 5 children. Their world is going to be a certain way, and you need to understand that going in. Otherwise, you're not going to make much headway.
No, I mean it's one of the traits too is that I left off my list because I just didn't have enough place was relationship building, right? Being conscious of the relationship, and to me, social media like LinkedIn is just social prospecting. It's starting the relationship, and rather than going like to home plate right at the beginning, it's like, okay, this one's going to take a bit longer because of circumstances. There's nothing you can do really, and you just got to go with the flow, and the more you show that you're willing to go with the flow and go where they're leading it, I always say people buy on their timeline, not yours. They don't care that you got a monthly quota or a yearly quota or you've got these big goals. They're not the ones that are going to help you get that goal this year, but if you do it right, they will next year. And that's all about the getting people to know, like, and trust you, and by showing empathy of like, oh my God, whoa, you have a busy life. I'll give you another example. Last year when the pandemic happened, the lockdowns happened, it's like I advise my clients to say, hi, to a current client, like, hi, how are you doing? And then say, no, how are you really doing? How are you coping? What's happening? Like, really show you're caring, right? I think is and that's part of the empathetic of like, don't just go for the facile. I think we're hopefully waking up to a kinder, more gentle world, and that's part of the empathy. So, fourth trait, passion, and enthusiasm. It really is. Enthusiasm really is contagious. And I always say, if you're not enthusiastic about what you're doing, then why should anybody else care? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's the passion is coming from knowing your product and knowing if you've done the right things, you're establishing the relationship, you're asking really good questions, you're establishing a need. Is that if you go, oh, geez, you've got this big gap in your sales process or your sales onboarding, or you never have done any sales training, you don't even know what your sales process looks like, your buyer's journey and how it all works together. It's like, I can help you with that, and it's like, I know I can help you because I've done this before. I've done this for decades. So it's the passion comes from a deep knowing that you can help somebody else. They always say selling is being of service to others. Yeah. So if you can help, dude, I would expect you to be pretty passionate about that. And it doesn't have to be an over the top. I always call it the quiet confidence, right? Of like being really solid in your knowledge. You've done this before. I know, unlike mutual funds, my past performance is a good indication of future performance. I helped other coaches like you, other speakers, other businesses, and I can do this for you. So you want to work together, So passion, and you show it in your own way, your own authentic way, It's just, don't try to be.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think that's a really good point, because you see these the late night commercials, the infomercials, and they're doing the but wait and this, that, and the other thing, and you contrast that with a guy, a Canadian guy named Dr. Ho, and I think we all know this guy. This guy has been around
Oh,
for probably 35 years, and he's had a number of products, and I'm sure he makes a fortune. But when you listen to him, you can tell he believes in his product, and you can tell he's confident that it will deliver a benefit to you. But he's not over the top. He's a very kind of quiet guy, and he smiles when he should smile. And but for the most part, he's not this over the top sales
yeah.
person hammering away at you. That's not, I don't think that's what you're talking about.
No, not at all. Because when I see, that kind of tactic, which is more consumer oriented, it's the infomercials. When I see that migrate to business selling, it makes my stomach curl. Like I just recoil. I think it's horrible. It is out because it's kind of like, because those are the kind of coaches who lock you into a 12-month contract and won't let you out of it at horrendous tens of thousands of dollars a lot of
Mhm.
time. And that is what gives sales a bad reputation. So taking those scammy techniques, I'm not talking about that. It's like it just doesn't, it has no place in business to business. We were talking earlier about business in the 70s and 80s. There was no feelings involved. When I was doing business school, it's like we just didn't talk about feelings. But now we're opening up. We're seeing that the soft skills are the most important things that distinguish, two people from, who are you going to hire? The straight life guy who's very serious but very professional, or the hey, who do you want to go on a six hour car drive with, right? It's the people that open up.
Want a regular person.
Yeah, that's right. It's really important, and just being passionate and enthusiastic about what you are providing others is important. So the last trait for today is my favorite. One of my favorites is being adaptable and agile, and I see this in improv training. I always say, if you're not, to friends, if you're not going to get sales training, then go and do some improv, because improv takes a lot of skill sets together, which is being present, being in the moment, listening actively, and thinking quickly. And that's really the trait for an exceptional salesperson, is that, we've all had that dreaded call at dinner time. Hi, I'm calling about your ducks. Oh, no, first of all, hi, how are you? Oh God, what are you trying to sell me? It's like scripts do not work. If I don't know you, I don't care. I don't want to answer, how are you? Because you don't care. It's like, what are you trying to sell me? That's the first thing. So, like, I refuse to answer that question. So, that's not a trait. Just saying sales scripts don't work, but you need to be, always listening and have your mind engaged and follow the conversation, because you never know where that's going. You can have a couple of scripted questions of like, let's open up the conversation and then go where it flows. Is Gerry goes this way, I go this way. So you got to follow that, person who's watching. You got to follow our leads, because I don't want to go where Gerry's gone, because that doesn't interest me. So you can't make me go back to your script, because I don't want to go there. You're wasting my time. I don't want to have that. So today we talked about the 5 traits: being competitive, goal oriented, empathetic, passionate, and agile and adaptable, which I think is really, as an entrepreneur, you got to be quick on your feet. If you've been trying for 6 months, trying to get into a niche, and you've had 0 success, time for you to adapt, right? It's stop banging your head against that wall, even though you think it's the most brilliant idea and that industry really needs you. But they do not. Oh, I don't know how Dyson does it, but they don't need a $1,000 screwdriver, no matter how great it is. The market for that is very, very slim. So just to leave you on I was going to say your homework. How do you become more self-aware? How do you develop some of these traits? When I teach, Professor Patti teaches at Ryerson on sales, is I have my students do a DISC evaluation, which if you just Google free DISC training, DISC, which stands for different traits, personality traits, you can start seeing how you are assessed compared to other people in the world. I used to be a DI, which is a driving intuitive.
I can't imagine that.
I know. I have now dropped. Just I'm more the inquisitive, the introspective. Is just I'm much more easygoing. I used to be a teleassertive. Like I would tell you an answer to a question because there was only one right answer. I have chilled. You know, a lot of that's the process of getting older, getting to know myself better. Lots of therapy works. But yeah, you can, you know, there's so many ways. Myers-Briggs, you've probably heard of. Caliber is another, you know, high-priced evaluation that many corporations use religiously. You might have heard of the 360, where I had this done once, you know, where they go in and your bosses, your coworkers, your staff, everybody evaluates you, and it can be
Did you
brutal.
lose a contest? Is that why you had that done, or what? Did you come in last? I can't imagine that.
I know. I worked for a California trading company, and it was just the latest thing to do.
Ah,
And it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal, but that was a weird company. What can I say? So ask your, you know, another thing is you can ask your friends and family, what are my blind spots? What am I not seeing? You know, what are my top strengths and weaknesses? You know, it's you know, it's nice. It kind of gives you the nice pat on the back of, oh, you're brilliant. By the way, you're not the most patient person in the world. Oh, really? I am so. Anyway, so anything to add, Gerry? We got the next 5, and the next time I'm up.
well, I'm looking forward to the next 5. We covered a lot of ground today, and I think you know, anybody, if you just note those 5 and just think, where do you fit in there? As Patti was saying, I think you'll get some real insights.
Yeah, and I guess the one last thing is, you know, if you look at those 5 traits, is look at, you know, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. How well do you do? They always say is work on your strengths, improve your strengths, and we're all weak on something. So if you don't want to be, I don't know, more competitive, yeah, don't be. You know, if that's not part of your thing, the goal setting, maybe that's where you can make the competitive part work for you. So have a, you know, evaluate yourself, score 1 to 10, and then say, well, okay, well, how do I, you know, and reading. I mean, reading, watching videos. There's so much on the web that you can do. So the more self-aware, the more you'll sell. So until next time.
Perfect.
Bye.
Time.